Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Chemistry Daily Booster. This is number 21 in our Paper 2 series, and it is still on the Advanced Information topic list for both Foundation Chemistry and Higher Tier Chemistry. What we're going to be having a look at in our booster today are polymers. One of the key polymers that you are all incredibly familiar with, whether you know it or not, are plastics. Now, when we talk about a polymer, what we're referring to are lots of monomer molecules being joined together. So the monomer is the individual unit, the polymer is lots of those monomers joined together. And a good example that you are all familiar with is polyethylene, or polythene for short. What we tend to find as one of the most basic polymers that we can make are the addition polymers. So these undergo an addition reaction where we're literally just joining monomers together. And the reason that they can join together is because they contain that double carbon-carbon bond. So if we think back to what we did in our alkenes, we said that we've got these molecules that have a double bond between the carbon atoms. So this would be a monomer, for example, because we've got a double bond between two carbons. That can then break, so if we actually break that double bond, we have our single bond there, and it allows us to then join on to another alkene, and so on. So that just allows us to join lots of those monomers end to end. Now, in terms of what this actually means for us with the questions they could ask, obviously they could ask us how we actually make an addition polymer by joining lots of monomers together. They can also ask us to identify the name of the polymer or the name of the monomer. So if we've got polyethylene, that is the polymer. The monomer is just the bit in the brackets. So if they said name the monomer of polyethylene, you would literally just write ethene. If they told us that we've got styrene as the monomer, what's the name of the polymer? All you do is write the word poly in front of whatever the monomer is. They could also ask us how we would draw the displayed formula for these. So what we've got here is the displayed formula for a polymer. If they ask us to draw the displayed formula for the monomer, we copy it. So put your bits exactly as they are inside the brackets, but we do not include these two little end lines, and we need to put a double bond back in. So that gives us our monomer. All we do is copy whatever is in the brackets, stick a double bond between two carbons, and lose the little arm sticking out the side, basically. If they were to give you the monomer, so if they were to give us this bit, all we would do is copy the whole thing, remove the double bond and replace it with a single, put the little arms out the side, stick it in the square brackets, and remember to include the little N in the bottom right corner. That little N is sometimes worth a mark on its own. In order to actually carry out this process of addition polymerization, two conditions we need: high pressure and a catalyst. We now need to consider biological polymers. These are things we have all met in biology over the course of the GCSE. First one, DNA. DNA is made of monomers called nucleotides. That is a nucleotide made of a phosphate, deoxyribose, and an organic base. We have four potential bases, A, T, C, and G. Don't need to know their names, just A, T, C, G, absolutely fine. What happens is these individual nucleotides are going to join together to make two strands, and then the individual bases form those complementary base pairs, and hydrogen bonds form between them to hold the two strands together in the double helix shape. Second biological polymer we need to know, proteins. The monomers of a protein are amino acids, and they're just going to join together based on obviously the mRNA strand that we create. Third one are carbohydrates, hope I don't cross it out. So our third one are the carbohydrates. These are going to be made of the monomers simple sugars. So those simple sugars join end to end to make more complex carbohydrates. The third type of polymer we need to know are the condensation polymers. When we're thinking condensation polymers, this is where two molecules react together to form one larger molecule, or polymer, a smaller molecule, which is often water, hence condensation, because if we think about what condensation is in our everyday lives, it's that water droplets that form on mirrors and things when you have a hot shower. So we can see a little block diagram for this on the left here. We start off with carboxylic acid and alcohol. So the red is the carboxylic acid, we can tell because we've got our little COOH functional group, and the blue is the alcohol, our OH functional group. Now what's going to happen is they're going to join together and we're going to produce a water, because what we're doing is taking the hydrogen from the alcohol and the oxygen and the hydrogen from our carboxylic acid. We join those two molecules together and we release a water. Now what we find is our condensation polymers are formed through a condensation reaction, and they don't require a catalyst and they occur at just room temperature and pressure. One thing they do need though are monomers with two functional groups. And that's been a question before. How many functional groups do the monomers of a condensation polymer need? 2 is the answer. If we consider our amino acids first of all then. An amino acid will have two functional groups, the amino group, which is NH2, and the carboxyl group, which is the COOH. That's the bit that makes it an acid. So the amino bit, NH2, the acid bit, COOH. So what we can see down here, that is our NH2, the amino group. Here is the carboxylic acid group, the carboxyl group. And what we're going to find is those two amino acids again join together by releasing a molecule of water. There's our water molecule. And the bond that's going to join them together is called an amide group. So CONH. Last thing we're going to consider then are just two examples of artificial condensation polymers, polyester and polyamide. If we look at polyester first of all, then this is going to be made from carboxylic acid and alcohol. When the carboxylic acid and the alcohol join together, what we're going to form are many ester groups. Hence the name polyester. Poly means many and ester is the group we're making. Polyester is used in clothing predominantly, that's probably where you've heard the name before, and we also use it in some drinks bottles. If we now look at polyamide, these are made from carboxylic acid again, but they're going to be joined with an amine. These are going to form many amide groups. So polyamide, many amide groups. And a good example of a polyamide is nylon, which we use in clothing and carpets. As always, if there are bits you'd like to look at in a bit more detail, you can use the C6 videos on our playlist on the main channel, use your revision guides, your classwork notes, and then have a look at some of the past exam questions from old exam papers, just to get a bit of a feel for what they're going to ask you and how they phrase those questions. Then don't forget to join us once more tomorrow for our next Daily Booster.